South Korea has revealed it seized a Hong Kong-registered ship last month suspected of supplying oil to the north in breach of international sanctions. Officials said the lighthouse Winmore had secretly transferred 600 tons of refined oil to a North Korean ship. A UN Security Council resolution bans ship-to-ship transfers of any goods destined for Pyongyang. The revelations came as China denied claims by President Donald Trump it had allowed oil shipments to the north. The ship entered Yeosu port in South Korea on October 11 to load up with refined oil and left for Taiwan 4 days later, Yonhap news agency reported. But instead of going to Taiwan, it transferred the oil to a North Korean ship and 3 other vessels in international waters on October 19, South Korean officials were quoted as saying. The New York Times said the transfer was captured in U.S. satellite photos, released by the U.S. Treasury in November, although the lighthouse Winmore was not named by the Treasury. The lighthouse Winmore was seized when it returned to Yeosu in November and remains in South Korea, South Korean officials said. There is no evidence as, although the lighthouse Winmore is Hong Kong flagged, it was leased by a Taiwanese company. The Chinese government said the accusations against it were not consistent with the facts. China has never allowed Chinese enterprises nor individuals to violate UN Security Council resolutions imposed on the DPRK, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying said. China handles about 90% of the North's foreign trade. There has been increasing suspicion in Washington that Chinese ships have been secretly transferring petroleum to North Korean vessels at sea. On Thursday, Mr. Trump tweeted he was very disappointed with China, which he said had been caught red-handed. Caught red-handed, very disappointed that China is allowing oil to go into North Korea. There will never be a friendly solution to the North Korea problem if this continues to happen. End of Twitter post by @RealDonaldTrump. The tweet followed a report on the issue in South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo. Quoting South Korean government officials, the report said the illegal ship-to-ship transfers had been filmed by U.S. spy satellites about 30 times since October. President Trump told the New York Times he had been soft on trade issues with China because he wanted its help on North Korea but was now threatening to end that. He said, "Oil is going into North Korea. That wasn't my deal. If they don't help us with North Korea, then I do what I've always said I want to do." Yes. Last week Beijing supported a US-drafted UN resolution that included measures to slash the North's petrol imports by up to 90%. The sanctions require nations to inspect and impound any ship suspected of illegal transfers to the North. On Thursday, the UN Security Council also denied international port access to 4 more North Korean ships suspected of carrying banned goods, AFP reported. It would bring the total number of ships blocked by the UN to 8. North Korea is already subject to a raft of sanctions from the US, the UN and the EU. The latest round was sparked by the November 29 launch of a ballistic missile, which flew higher than any other the North has tested. In a typically bellicose response, North Korea described the new sanctions as an act of war. Mr. Trump has previously threatened to totally destroy North Korea if it launches a nuclear attack. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has described the U.S. president as mentally deranged. They have been imposed for more than a decade with little success. In fact, North Korea has said fresh sanctions will only make it accelerate its nuclear program. It has continued to test nuclear and ballistic missiles despite these recent examples of UN pressure.